Dear fellows, Assalamu alaikum. This is Hamad Ahmed with you. Welcome to one of the most awaited videos on CIA Part 1. Before moving forward, I would like to thank all of you for your love, appreciation, motivation and encouragement to make these videos. And I'm really honored by knowing that my previous videos were useful and those videos helped them decide whether they want to continue with the CIA or not. In last videos, I have tried to answer many questions which are usually asked by the students whether they are new or they are planning to move to CIA. In this video, we will learn about the basics of audit. Whether you have an audit background or not, I will help you understand what is audit, why audit is performed. Please keep in mind that this video is very important because based on this video you will build the basis for the upcoming lectures. If you will have the understanding of these basic concepts, it would become much easier for you to understand the next concepts to pass this exam. I am sure by the end of the video you will be much confident and will have learned something new in a very easy manner. So let's move to the video.
For a short time as a trainee, and then from that I moved to this audit. So now I need to have this CIA. Without that, I am also preparing for CFP.
Okay, no worries about that. So, can you speak and understand Urdu as well?
Yeah, I can understand 100%.
Means whatever I was discussing in Urdu language yesterday, you were getting what I was discussing, right?
I can also speak, sir.
Okay, good. That's good. Okay, we will continue now. And I will keep calling till he joins us. Let me share the screen first and then we will discuss. Please check whether you can see my screen or not. Okay, now everyone can see, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yesterday we discussed few things about the basics of audit, which was what is audit and what is meant by governance, company structure, audit committee and fiduciary relationship. So I will quickly give you a recap of these things and then we will move forward. The first thing we discussed about the famous definition of audit, which is external audit definition. Audit is an independent examination of financial statements of an entity that enables an auditor to express an opinion on the reliability of financial statements, whether they give true and fair view. We also discussed in detail the definition of internal auditing yesterday. By now I am assuming that you are very clear about the definition and concepts of internal audit and external audit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we also discussed about governance structure, audit committee, what is the relationship of audit committee with the senior management, and we discussed that management is a separate thing and audit is a separate thing. This you have to keep in mind, especially when you are preparing for the CIA exam. So this was the structure which we studied yesterday, that there is some senior management which includes board of directors and chief executive officer, and then there is middle management who are responsible for carrying out operations according to policies and procedures set by the senior management, and then there is operational management who are actually involved in the operations. So everyone needs assurance from their subordinates that they are performing the work according to the policies and procedures, and ultimately they will be able to achieve the mission and vision of the company. Now we come to today's topic, which is the difference between internal audit and external audit. So we will quickly go through these differences. So can you please tell me whether you can see this comparison easily or should I zoom in?
Zoom in. That's fine.
Okay. So Numan, are you also with me, right?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, right. You just have to read these. I will give a pause of 2 or 3 minutes and then we will discuss if there is any question related to it. Okay? By the end of these 3 or 4 minutes, I will ask some questions. If you have read these points critically, you will be able to answer those questions. Otherwise, ultimately, we have to discuss. When all of you have read these points, please let me know. I will go to the next slide or window. And as soon as anyone finishes the reading, please let me know.
I have one question. question is if you look, internal audit gave suggestions to management for the betterment of the business. External audit has no need to give suggestion unless he is asked. So if you look now to the external audit report, some of them when they have some findings, they also give a recommendation. So I don't know, I mean in the real life they gave also recommendation for their findings.
I will answer this question once everyone reads all the things.
I've done.
Okay, good. Yes, guys. Okay, coming back to your question, external auditor has no need to give the suggestions unless he is asked. Okay, let me clear one thing right from the beginning, that whenever you will read the CIA or any US qualification specifically, because these are all MCQ based, you have to be very careful about the wording and what they are saying. In this way you will be able to grasp the concept and the question spirit, what he is asking in the question. Sometimes it seems very obvious that he is asking this question, but actually it is different question. This is the practice basically or technique which I will build in you guys, inshallah, and you will be able to pass. As per standards, they give this management letter, but with respect to this comparison, they are actually comparing internal audit and external audit. So here if you see, they are focusing on the suggestions part, which are part of the internal audit report. External auditor has only the responsibility of financial statements. Adding value is important and critical as part of internal audit. There is a difference between ML issued by the external auditor and suggestions given by the internal auditor, because their scope is different, right? The external auditor scope is totally different than the internal auditors. The internal auditor scope is focused on improving GRC, governance, risk management and control processes, which includes all the processes of any organization. Does this answer your question or you need further clarification?
No, it's clear, but I was just thinking that again for this scope of the external audit, it's all about the share, I mean the people, the management or the shareholders, which kind of keyword they want to give them. I mean if they put in the keyword to them that they should go and they should go for some suggestion or for some things, they can do it, yeah?
Right, they can give, yes, definitely. And you might have also seen as part of ML management letter, in which they point out the critical factors which are creating problem in their scope, which was originally financial statements audit, right? And which need to be improved as part of financial statements and reporting framework. Those are not necessarily process based or process focused. Those are mainly financial statements audit focused, so as to make their financial statements reliable and true and fair. Got it? They will only focus on everything which is related to financial statements, unless management specifically asks to go beyond their original scope. Yes, any other question?
If the external auditor is asked to go beyond their scope, won't that assignment not exactly be the external audit, the financial statement, or
Yes.
will be something different to that?
Correct.
What is he required?
Yes, if the original scope is changed, the first thing which the external auditors or the CPA firm or any audit firm will do, they will go to risk management, their own risk management, right? Because they need to be independent in every case. Whether they are independent by the increase in scope or not, this they have to check from their risk management department, which is normally a centralized and global department. So if the scope falls within the financial statements audit, it will be there, unless it will be another separate engagement, which could be non-audit engagement or different sort of assignment. Consultancy, it could be agreed upon procedures, or it can be anything else. Anyone has any other question on these points? When you will finish asking your question, I will start asking. So keep asking me. Okay. So since your questions have ended, I will begin now. In the second point, if you see, legally internal audit is not compulsory. Is it correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Anyone else?
It's a requirement only for listed companies.
Very good answer. I was expecting this answer from someone. Okay, it is not compulsory, but it is compulsory for only listed companies across the globe. Wherever there is listed entity, it is compulsory for that. We cannot say generally that it is not compulsory. And if you see in Pakistan, according to SACP's requirements, and in USA and Canada, and UK according to SEC Securities and Exchange Commission and related bodies requirement. All the listed companies should have their internal audit department, but the mode or creating an internal audit department can be different. They can build in-house internal audit department. This is the first thing, or they can outsource.
So it's based on the CIA, what they say, it's compulsory. I mean, like, because we said that it's some organization it may compulsory or in some list it's not. So based on CIA, it's must or not?
CIA requirement is encouraged. In Pakistan, it is legally required that the head of internal audit should be any professional body member. He can be a CA, ACCA, SEMA, CIA, CISA, he can be CFE. So in Pakistan, it is compulsory that head of audit at least should be one of these. But preferably, if a member has ACCA or CA or any other masters, even with masters the experience requirement in internal audit is increased, but they encourage that at least for internal audit this certification should be there. So welcome to CIA class after a lot of efforts since yesterday. Okay, so we moved back to our question. किसी और को कोई इससे क्वेश्चन कोई पूछना है तो वो पूछ सकते हैं. An important concept which we discussed yesterday was how an internal auditor can be independent when he is employee of the company. ये क्वेश्चन
रिपोर्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर है.
एग्जैक्टली ये क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहिए था किसी को. अगर आपको ऑलरेडी समझ थी और पता था, दैट इज़ ग्रेट. आई एम ग्लैड टू नो दिस. इंटरनल ऑडिटर इज एम्प्लॉय ऑफ द कंपनी. Even then, how he is independent. So yesterday we discussed that since internal audit department is governed under the audit committee and his reporting relationship is totally different. He is functionally reporting to audit committee. This you have to remember. That's why he becomes independent. Another point I want to share with you with respect to enhancement of knowledge and practical exposure. In this point you will see internal auditor has not to submit any report to the shareholders. But if you see the annual reports of listed companies and MNCs, they make a section of internal audit in their annual report. Listed company में तो होता ही है. Listed company वो yes, listed company में तो होता ही है. वो बताते हैं कि इंटरनल ऑडिट के बारे में क्या चीज़. इंटरनल ऑडिट डिपार्टमेंट हमारा एस्टेब्लिश्ड है और ये उसकी प्रोफाइल है और वो किस तरह काम करते हैं. दे राइट फ्यू लाइन्स ऑन दैट. But some MNCs and unlisted companies, just to increase the trust and make its reporting more reliable, they also write one section about the internal audit. Okay, now we move to another point which I want to make you guys understand here, that internal auditor checks all the transactions. This is not the case. Internal auditor as well as external auditor both work on. Did you guys got this point? Internal auditor may increase the testing more than the external audit sometimes, but they both work on the sample basis.
थोड़ी कॉन्ट्रोडिक्टरी बात नहीं हो गई?
प्लीज पूछें क्या कंट्रोडिक्शन आपके ज़हन में आ रही है?
Like it's written that internal auditor checks all transactions, but then again he checks on a sample basis.
तो ये all the transactions वाला कॉन्सेप्ट यहाँ पे सही नहीं है. It usually is on sample basis unless there is an assignment of fraud. Fraud is always zero tolerance. जी नुमान ऐसा ही है कुछ?
बिल्कुल जी. ये इन तीनों चीज़ों में असल में मेन डिफरेंस यही है, इंटरनल और फ्रॉड रिलेटेड. फ्रॉड तो आपको वही जैसे हम बात कर रहे हैं जीरो टॉलरेंस, और इंटरनल ऑडिट में मोस्टली जो है वो यही होता है कि उनके सैंपल्स जो हैं वो कंपेयर टू एक्सटर्नल ऑडिट ज़्यादा ही होते हैं.
एग्जैक्टली. और डिफरेंट सैम्पलिंग प्लान्स होते हैं, वो हम खैर पढ़ेंगे डिटेल में. बट अभी आपने ये याद रखना है कि ऑल द ट्रांजैक्शन वाला जो कॉन्सेप्ट है दैट इज़ ओनली रिलेटेड टू फ्रॉड इन्वेस्टिगेशंस. ओके.
ये इंटरनल ऑडिटर मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम परमानेंट एम्प्लॉइज तो नहीं होते, वो आप किसी को आउटसोर्स भी कर सकते हैं. बिल्कुल
कर सकते हैं, बिल्कुल. अभी जैसे हमने दो चीज़ें पढ़ी थी ऊपर कि या इन हाउस भी हो सकते हैं और आउटसोर्स भी कर सकते हैं, दोनों चीज़ें हैं.
मोस्टली तो इंटरनल ऑडिटर इन हाउस ही होना चाहिए.
जी जी. इन हाउस असल में होता ये है, एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ आप हमेशा याद रखें, किसी भी चीज़ के अंदर सबसे पहले आता है फिजिबिलिटी स्टडी. यू हैव टू डू और परफॉर्म द फिजिबिलिटी स्टडी बिफोर यू डिसाइड एनीथिंग. फिजिबिलिटी स्टडी में इम्पॉर्टेंट कंसीडरेशन है, एक तो होती है कॉस्ट एलिमेंट, दूसरा होता है टाइम, तीसरा होता है अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, and one important thing which is becoming very critical these days, this is confidentiality. although इस पे एक agreement sign होता है between client, right, client and the audit firm or the consultant. We call it NDA, non-disclosure agreement, which has to be signed before conducting assignment. If we see all of these factors and evaluate, in-house internal audit department is more preferred and feasible. Kashif, I hope your question is answered, right?
Okay.
Great. Now we have studied all of these points. We move on to the next section. I will also send a file to you. You can read it yourself, but I will quickly give you an idea. So we have also answered the question, what is difference between internal audit and external audit, what duties they perform. The last question in this lecture is related to absolute assurance versus reasonable assurance. So can anybody tell me what is the difference between these two?
Absolute assurance मेरा ख्याल है गारंटी वाली साइड पे चली जाती है. रीजनेबल एश्योरेंस जो एक एक्सेप्टेबल हद तक एश्योरेंस दी जाती है.
जी, anybody?
एब्सोल्यूट एश्योरेंस में होता है कि आपने 100% ट्रांजैक्शंस टेस्ट की हैं. रीजनेबल में होता है कि आपने अपने सैंपल बेसिस के ऊपर और रिस्क बेस्ड के ऊपर आपने एक सैंपल पे ओपिनियन दिया.
Very good. I was expecting this answer. I will explain this. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I think I'll go with the same answer.
Hamza, okay. Wahidullah, are you with us?
Yeah, actually, you can also say that maybe in the real audit you may not check everything due to the security risk into the other risk in that you are not able. So you just went due to that can be reasonable, you know. And the one that you went and you did everything based on your concept, based on your plan, that is absolute. You went and you did all the things what you planned.
Okay, good.
Auditor does not give absolute assurance in any case.
Okay, good. First thing which you have to keep in your minds, that there is never absolute assurance. Whether it is real life or whether you are taking the exam of CIA or any other professional exam, keep in mind please that there is no concept of absolute assurance. As few of you mentioned that if we perform 100% testing, then we may be able to give the absolute assurance. This is not the case, can never be the case. Why? Because there could be workers collusion, there could be misunderstanding of the business or transaction. Actually, there is a term we use to describe this situation which is called, anybody can tell me what is concept because of which we cannot give absolute assurance? We call it limiting factors, yeah, limitations of audit. Even if you check 100% of the transactions, there could be workers collusion. So you cannot be sure whether the documents which you have checked or inspected, they are true documents or no. Although the principle of due professional care, which will be studied in next lecture, due professional care makes compulsory to see the authentication of documents through various means or through various tools. Even then, if there is workers collusion, which means that all the workers are colluded and they are providing the document which you need to test, correct? So we cannot give absolute assurance. Then the concept of reasonable assurance jumps in. We always say that there is reasonable assurance or sufficient assurance. If we want to quantify it, we can say that there is 75% to 80% assurance. For example, that documents and evidences which the management has provided. Now we will talk the language of internal audit, because management is a separate thing and internal audit is a separate thing. This we discussed yesterday. So we will say that whatever the management has provided, it is giving us sufficient evidence or reasonable evidence that these documents are correct, but we can never give absolute assurance. Anyone has question on this? Because after this we are going to finish this class. I will I will send through the teams that document which you will study and we will discuss in next class. Exactly. एब्सोल्यूट एश्योरेंस का तो कॉन्सेप्ट ही इनवैलिड है. देयर इज नेवर एब्सोल्यूट एश्योरेंस. दे ही नहीं सकते ना. लिमिटिंग फैक्टर्स की वजह से, ये लिमिटेशंस ऑफ ऑडिट की वजह से हम दे ही नहीं सकते. ह्यूमन एरर हो सकती है, वर्कर्स कोलिजन हो सकती है, मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ बिजनेस हो सकता है, फॉर्जिंग ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट्स हो सकती है. देयर कुड बी एनीथिंग. एनीवन हैज एनी अदर क्वेश्चन प्लीज.
75% 80% वाले तक जस्टिफिकेशन है कि इसमें कोई स्टैंडर्ड तो इस तरह की फिगर नहीं देता ना.
नहीं, स्टैंडर्ड इस तरह की फिगर नहीं देता. ये सिर्फ आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप करने के लिए है. इट्स जस्ट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, जस्ट टू मेक दैट व्हाट सफिशिएंट मींस. 75 to 80%. देयर आर बेसिकली टू थिंग्स, टेस्ट ऑफ कंट्रोल्स एंड टेस्ट ऑफ डिटेल्स. सो बिफोर परफॉर्मिंग टेस्ट ऑफ डिटेल्स वी सी टेस्ट ऑफ controls, whether the controls are adequate and working effectively or not. So if the controls are weak, we extend transaction testing, which could be 70% to 80% or 90%. Okay, so we will study this thing later in our lectures. Any other question? No? Okay. In next class, we will study the basic concepts of audit, which is related to audit committee, which we will discuss in detail, inshallah. We have already discussed this question as a part of board of directors, audit committee. Then we will discuss the difference between independence and objectivity. And the last question will be, what are the code of ethics for auditor? So this will be our next lecture. I will give you some handouts to study this area, and we will discuss in next class in detail. And meanwhile, I will also send you on WhatsApp on Teams as well the documents which you have to study before coming into next class.
आपकी स्लाइड्स दिख रही है, आपके अपने हैंडआउट्स हैं या किसी वो बुक के हैं?
नहीं, बुक के होंगे. जो मेरे अपने हैंडआउट्स हैं वो जब हम पढ़ लेंगे फिर मैं आपको साथ साथ दूंगा. जो नेक्स्ट हैं वो IIA के ही हैं. बेसिक आपको मैं दिखा भी देता हूँ. ये कोड ऑफ एथिक्स से रिलेटेड है. प्रिंसिपल्स हैं इंटेग्रिटी, ऑब्जेक्टिविटी, कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी एंड कॉम्पिटेंसी. व्हाट डज दैट मीन? क्योंकि इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चंस भी आते हैं एग्जाम में और इनके कॉन्सेप्ट्स होना ज़रूरी हैं. और फिर रूल्स ऑफ कंडक्ट क्या हैं जो IIA ने जो डिफाइन किए हुए हैं, जो कि इंटेग्रिटी, ऑब्जेक्टिविटी, कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी एंड कॉम्पिटेंसी है. इन्हीं प्रिंसिपल के ऊपर बेस्ड हैं ये रूल्स. ठीक है, तो ये डॉक्यूमेंट मैं आपको फॉरवर्ड करूंगा. एंड यू विल ऑल्सो सी हियर द इंडिपेंडेंस, ऑब्जेक्टिविटी. सो प्लीज रीड दिस केयरफुली एंड आई विल आस्क द क्वेश्चन ऑन इंडिपेंडेंस एंड ऑब्जेक्टिविटी बिफोर discussing it. And we will discuss audit committee definitely in detail in next part. And hopefully after finishing this, we will quickly jump on to the unit 1 on my notes which I have made, and I will share those notes during this week so you can have a look on those notes, and then we will discuss those notes in coming class inshallah. Thank you very much for your time. Stay home, stay safe from corona, and enjoy Ramadan and make this Ramadan as good as possible. In the end, I would like to have your comments in the comment section. Please like, subscribe and share my channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon, because whenever I will upload a video, you will have direct notification in your inbox. Stay home, stay safe, and let us make this quarantine period an effective and learning period. Take care. Bye.